in the horror genre. I'm your host, Nicole, and it's time to share another dark tale. The Overlook Hotel doesn't really exist. What pop culture has come to know and love was built using mostly sets, with a few real locations sprinkled in. The closest you'll get is the Stanley Hotel, a beautiful resort nestled in the Rocky Mountains. It was King's inspiration for the book and my home for the last 3 days. Let's check in and wander the halls, shall we? Good morning, folks. I am at the Stanley Hotel. If you've been paying attention at all, then you know. Anyway, so I am currently sitting in the coffee shop downstairs at the Stanley, and it's snowing a little bit. We woke up this morning and it was snowing. If you're not familiar, of course, the Stanley Hotel is the Shining Hotel. It's where Stephen King was inspired to write The Shining. He and his wife stayed here one night, and as the legend goes, they were the only people in the hotel and he couldn't sleep, and so he wandered the halls and just had the spooky vibes and got the idea for the novel. So it's a pretty famous place for any horror fan, and it's in Estes Park, Colorado. It's nestled in the Rockies. This whole town is just in this little valley, and the beautiful Rocky Mountains are all around us, and it's amazing. So you can see when you drive up, when you walk in, like you can understand why somebody would want to write about this place, because it's just so gorgeous and inspiring. So this is actually our second trip to the Stanley. We were at a conference in Colorado a few years ago, and we weren't staying here though. We just drove up for a day, visited, and it was great. This time, we decided to stay here. We've been on just a general trip out west, and our 10-year wedding anniversary is in about a month. Well, less than a month now, a couple weeks. And David, my husband, was like, what if we just tagged on a few days in Colorado at the end of our trip out west, and we stay at the Stanley, splurge a little bit, and really celebrate our 10-year in style. And that's what we did, and it's been so amazing. So when we got here on Thursday, it was pretty quiet, and it has just slowly gotten more and more nuts here. And like today, this place is lit. I wanted to record this from the lobby just so it would be a little more interesting for the people watching live. But it is packed in there. So there's no way that I would be able to squeeze in or you would be able to hear me. With everything going on in there. So I knew that the annual Shining Ball was going to be happening while we were here. I actually looked into us going earlier in the year when we were planning, and there was no date released yet. And it's a really expensive ticket. And I read some not so great reviews about it, about what to expect. And I thought, well, that's not something we necessarily need to do. And then I sort of forgot about it. And we got, what was a few days before we got here. I was like, oh my gosh, the Shining Ball was while we're there. So I was like, my people, my spooky people are going to be there. So, but what I didn't know is that also on Monday, they are going to be doing a Dr. Sleep screening for the press here in town. And so yesterday or the day before, we were sitting in the lobby, just hanging out, drinking a coffee. And so they have two of the, well, there's on either side of the lobby, there are like private rooms where they have like weddings and balls and stuff. And those rooms are usually roped off. You can see in, but you can't walk in. So there was like a private event sign in front of one of them. And I figured, it's probably for the Shining Ball later. And then these people, looking very official, put this Dr. Sleep sign in front of the door. And it was like, Warner Brothers hospitality check-in. And I was like, what is happening? Something official? So, anywho, I was like, what's going on? I'm like, what's happening? This is so cool. So basically on Monday they're doing, it's not like the official premiere or whatever, but it is just for the press. So they invited a bunch of like industry people and influencers and stuff. I don't know if any of the actors from the movies are here, but I did hear through the grapevine that Mike Flanagan is supposed to be here. I have yet to see him, but even if I did, I don't think I would bother the man, but it would still be cool to see him. And something really cool for me is that I saw that Andrea Subasati from Faculty of Horror, she's a co-host of Faculty of Horror and also the editor of Rue Morgue. I saw on her stories that she was going to be here, and I thought, well, I would love to meet her. Big fan of Faculty of Horror, and anytime I can powwow with a fellow, female horror nerd, of course I want to do that. So I reached out to her, and she was so cool. She's here by herself, and she was totally down to hang. And so yesterday afternoon we walked around the grounds together and just chatted about life and horror, and she was just a really, really cool person. Like I said, she's editor of Rue Morgue, and she's a fairly important person in the industry, and but she was just very down to earth and cool. And so it was great to meet her. So people started getting here like more and more yesterday. All the industry people started showing up, and this place last night was lit. David and I went to dinner in the lounge. So they have a really nice restaurant, but we didn't make reservations ahead of time. This whole trip has been just kind of like fly by the seat of our pants, which is not something we normally do. Like normally we're very like big time planners. Not on this trip. We're like, we're just going to show up and see what happens. And so we didn't make reservations at the restaurant, but you can sit in the lounge, like right next to the bar, and you could eat everything from the restaurant. So last night we like fought the crowds, and we sat in the lounge and had dinner, and it was fantastic. David had, I had just had gnocchi, which was fine, but David had a wild game meatloaf that was like really fantastic. And it was just popping in there. Like it was hard to get a seat in the lounge. It was hard to get a seat at the bar, and the lobby was packed. So after dinner, we went to dinner early because it's easier to squeeze into the lounge early. So we went to dinner early, and then we just hung out in the lobby. And as we were sitting in the lobby, everybody started getting there with their costumes on for the Shining Ball. And it was like prime people watching. It was great. Some people were dressed in Shining costumes. Some people were just dressed in ridiculous costumes. But you could tell that like everybody was here to have a good time. Like people were laughing. They were all taking pictures on the stairs. Like it was just a good vibe. I was like, I feel like this might be more fun than actually going to the ball. Just all the great people watching. And then of course I'm also like keeping an eye out for any, like famous people or whatever. So it was a great evening. And so we are headed out today. And I've yet to see any ghosties. But also, like I said, I was a little bit too scared to get up and roam the halls in the middle of the night. Maybe that will, come back to bite me. Maybe I'll regret that later. I don't know. Or maybe next time I come back, I will have the courage to roam the halls. But either way, it's been just a fantastic trip. And I will say, like, the rooms themselves aren't anything fantastic. If you've ever stayed at a historic hotel, you probably know exactly what the rooms look like. They're old, they're a little beat up, they're not like super luxury, but they're charming because they're old and you're staying in the Stanley. So you kind of, don't really care that your room's not super polished. But if you do come stay here, just expect that. This place has a pretty hefty price tag, but you're really paying for the experience and the atmosphere and the history. You're not really paying for like a 5-star room. Also, you need to check out, like I mentioned, the whiskey bar. It is the biggest selection of whiskey in Colorado and probably one of the biggest ones in the country. And it's just got good vibes. Like the bar itself is this like, I don't know, kind of like agate quartz, some kind of like rock. And then it's like lit from underneath. So the whole thing like glows with this just like beautiful coppery rock. It's great. And the bartenders are super cool. And if you like whiskey, then of course you have to try it out. And they all are pretty knowledgeable about whiskey. So they'll chat with you and make good recommendations. And it's only fitting that you have a whiskey while you're at the Shining Hotel. You kind of have to do that. So definitely check it out. Check it out. Oh. And I'm a little sad, like I said, because we're leaving today. And I've taken a ton of pictures, and we've just been having such a good time. I haven't stopped too much to post. I've posted a few things here and there, but I will be posting all of that in the days and weeks and whatever to come. And I hope that all the spooky folks out there, especially if you are a fan of The Shining, I hope that you get to make the trip out someday, because it's worth it. The drive alone is just gorgeous. The drive up here, you land in Denver. We rented a car, and then you can see the mountains, when you're leaving Denver, and just the closer you get, the more amazing it becomes. And then you're driving through the mountains, and it feels just like that opening of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, where it's like following the car, and it's the whole thing. It's just the whole thing. And Estes Park is the cutest little town. There's lots of just walking around to do. We've eaten at some really legit little just plain restaurants. So anyway, come visit Estes Park. And even if you don't stay here, you can visit. They encourage visitors. And, you can't go up to the guest room floor if you don't stay here, because I'm sure they would have hordes of people just like gathering around room 217. And I'm sure we walked down to 217, but I'm sure that somebody super important is staying there, since all these industry people are here this weekend. But so I will check in with you guys later. Like I said, keep an eye out for all of the pictures and videos that I'll be sharing. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. You can find the show on Instagram and Facebook at Light and Shadow Pod. Sign up to become a supporter on Patreon for early access to all episodes and more. Please rate, review, and subscribe to help other people find the show. Until next time, stay spooky.